I need to borrow your car right quick.
What kind of shit is that? Most people want to borrow sugar or even ketchup. You want to borrow my car? Hell no!
Friday, 1995. Cast Confessions fans never knew. What if I told you that one of the most beloved comedies of all time, a film that has become a cultural touchstone for generations, almost never got made? That the movie that launched Chris Tucker's meteoric career and gave us the iconic phrase, "Bye, Felicia," was born out of sheer frustration, a project that nearly destroyed friendships, and a story that hides secrets so deep they would shock even the most dedicated fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the incredible and at times heartbreaking story behind the 1995 classic Friday. We'll explore everything from Ice Cube's desperate and inspiring attempt to change Hollywood's narrative about black neighborhoods, to the intense casting drama that almost derailed the entire production, and even the tragic feuds that tore the franchise apart. But before we get started, if you're ready for some seriously surprising revelations about your favorite movies, do me a favor and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you ring that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into cinema history. Trust me, what you're about to discover will completely change how you watch this movie. And wait until you hear about the real-life tragedy that inspired some of the film's most memorable and poignant moments. This is a story of creative genius, of perseverance against all odds, and of a vision that redefined a genre. The birth of a different vision. Picture this. It's the early 1990s, and Hollywood has a very specific and very narrow idea of what black cinema should look like. Every movie about life in South Central Los Angeles seems to follow the same grim formula: drugs, violence, and unrelenting despair. Films like Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, while powerful and important in their own right, painted entire neighborhoods with the same dark and hopeless brush. They were stories of survival, but rarely of joy. Ice Cube was tired of it. Here was a man who had already conquered the world of rap music as a member of the groundbreaking group NWA, and who had proven his dramatic acting chops in films like Boys in the Hood. But he saw something that Hollywood was completely missing, a vital piece of the puzzle that, once revealed, would revolutionize how we see these communities. What do you think was the one thing missing from these early portrayals of life in South Central? Let us know in the comments what you think that missing piece was. The answer, as it turns out, was laughter. It was joy. It was the everyday, mundane, and often hilarious moments that make these neighborhoods so vibrantly human. Ice Cube knew that life in South Central wasn't just about struggle. It was also about family, friendship, and finding humor in the absurdity of daily life. So Cube teamed up with his good friend DJ Pooh, a man who shared his vision and his deep-seated frustration with the status quo. Together, they decided to write something completely different, a film that would show the world the other side of the story. But here's where it gets interesting. And what happens next will surprise you about just how close this project came to dying before it ever even began. The writing challenge. Nobody expected. You'd think that writing a comedy would be a walk in the park compared to the intense, socially charged dramas that Ice Cube had become known for, right? You'd be wrong. Completely wrong. Cube and DJ Pooh quickly discovered a truth that would haunt the entire production. Comedy is brutally, unforgivingly hard. They had built their reputations on serious, hard-hitting, and often controversial content. Now, they were trying to make people laugh while still maintaining the authenticity of the neighborhood they knew and loved. It was a tightrope walk, and they stumbled more than a few times. The script went through countless revisions, each one a battle to find the perfect balance. They'd write a scene, read it back to each other, and realize with a groan that it just wasn't funny. Or it was funny, but it felt fake, like a caricature of the world they were trying to represent. Or it was authentic, but it was too heavy, too bogged down in the very real struggles they were trying to offer an alternative to. This balancing act, this constant push and pull between humor and reality, nearly broke them. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected and deeply personal source: DJ Pooh's own family experiences. The quirky character dynamics, the intricate neighborhood politics, even some of the specific and seemingly outlandish incidents in the film were pulled directly from real life. Ice Cube's own childhood memories of growing up in South Central provided the emotional core of the story, the heart that beats beneath the laughter. However, what they discovered during the writing process, a truth about the nature of comedy and the expectations of their audience, would later become the source of the biggest and most heartbreaking controversy in the franchise's history. But we'll get to that shocking revelation a little later. For now, just know that the script that would become Friday was a labor of love, a testament to the power of perseverance, and a story that was almost never told. The studio gamble that changed everything. Here's something that most people, even the most die-hard fans of Friday, don't know. The movie almost didn't happen because nobody in Hollywood believed in it. Not a single soul. The script, which Cube and DJ Pooh had poured their hearts and souls into, was making the rounds in Hollywood, and studio after studio passed on it without a second thought. The feedback was always the same, a chorus of dismissive and short-sighted criticism. "It's too niche," they'd say. "Where's the action? The car chases? The explosions? Comedy doesn't sell tickets in this market," they'd claim, despite all evidence to the contrary. Executive after executive, blinded by their own preconceived notions, couldn't see the vision. Then, just when it seemed like all hope was lost, New Line Cinema stepped in with an offer that was both a blessing and a curse. They'd fund the movie, but with a series of conditions that would test the patience and the creativity of everyone involved. The budget was microscopic, so small it was almost insulting. We're talking about pocket change by Hollywood standards. They had to shoot the entire film in just a few short weeks, an almost impossible task. And most challenging of all, they had their own specific and often misguided ideas about casting that would create a storm of drama that nobody saw coming. Do you think that low budgets actually help or hurt creative projects? Does the lack of resources force filmmakers to be more innovative, or does it just stifle their creativity? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to know your take on this fascinating debate. But New Line's most controversial demand, the one that would have the most lasting and far-reaching consequences, involved the character of Smokey. The role had been written with a specific actor in mind, someone who Cube and DJ Pooh felt embodied the spirit of the character perfectly. But the studio, in its infinite wisdom, pushed for someone completely different, a relative unknown with a wild and unpredictable energy. This decision, this one single casting choice, would launch one career into the stratosphere and create a rift that still affects the franchise to this very day. And speaking of that fateful casting decision, what happened during those auditions, the behind-the-scenes drama and the last-minute interventions, will absolutely blow your mind. The audition process that nearly broke hearts. The search for the perfect actor to play Smokey became the stuff of legend in Hollywood, but not for the reasons you might expect. Ice Cube had a crystal-clear vision for the character. He wanted someone who could effortlessly balance comedy with a deep-seated authenticity, someone who felt like they had genuinely grown up in the neighborhood, someone who could be both hilarious and heartbreaking in the same breath. Dozens upon dozens of talented actors auditioned for the role. Some were too polished, too slick, too Hollywood. Others couldn't find the humor, their jokes falling flat in the sterile audition room. Most, however, just didn't have that spark, that indefinable and electric quality that makes a character truly memorable. Then, Chris Tucker walked in. Now here's what's so incredible about this story. Chris Tucker, the man who would become synonymous with the character of Smokey, almost didn't get the part. His first audition was, by all accounts, a complete and utter disaster. He was nervous. He was overthinking every single line. He was trying way too hard to impress instead of just being his naturally charismatic and hilarious self. Cube and the casting directors were ready to move on, to thank him for his time and show him the door. But Angela Means, the brilliant actress who had already been cast as the unforgettable Felicia, saw something special in Tucker. She saw a flicker of genius behind the nerves, a raw and untapped talent that just needed a little encouragement to shine. Behind the scenes, she took him aside. She talked him down. She convinced him to relax, to trust his instincts, and to bring that natural, unfiltered energy that would later make him a global superstar. His second audition? It was pure, unadulterated magic. What's your favorite Chris Tucker moment from the movie? Is it his "you got knocked the fuck out" line? His wild-eyed paranoia about the phantom black car? Drop your pics in the comments. We're curious to know which scenes hit hardest for you. But Tucker's casting, as perfect as it was, created an unexpected and deeply problematic issue that would eventually tear the franchise apart. The chemistry between him and Ice Cube was perfect on screen, a comedic masterclass in timing and delivery. But behind the cameras, the seeds of creative differences were already being sown. Differences that would, in time, explode in ways that shocked everyone involved. But first, before we get to the heartbreaking feud, let me tell you about what really happened on the set of Friday. On-set magic and mayhem. Filming Friday was an experience unlike anything most of the cast and crew had ever been a part of. The budget was so incredibly tight that they had to get creative with every single aspect of the production. There were no fancy, luxurious trailers, no five-star catered meals, no second chances if a piece of equipment broke down. It was guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, a testament to the power of passion and ingenuity. But something beautiful and unexpected happened in that high-pressure, low-budget environment. The cast became a real, genuine family. Ice Cube, despite being the star, the co-writer, and the driving force behind the entire project, was cracking jokes between takes, keeping everyone's spirits high. Chris Tucker was a whirlwind of improvisational genius, ad-libbing lines that would go on to become some of the most iconic and quoted in cinema history. The supporting cast, many of whom were making their film debuts, were supporting each other like seasoned veterans, creating a safe and collaborative space for everyone to shine. Some of the movie's very best and most beloved moments weren't even in the script. That natural, easy chemistry you see between Craig and Smokey. That's not acting. That's the real-life friendship and mutual admiration of two artists at the top of their game. The neighborhood they filmed in, a real, living, breathing community, embraced the production with open arms, with real residents becoming a part of the vibrant background atmosphere of the film. Regina King, a consummate professional even then, brought a level of gravitas and skill that elevated everyone around her. The late, great Tommy Tiny Lister's intimidating and terrifying presence as Debo was perfectly and hilariously balanced by his gentle and kind-hearted nature off-camera. And newcomers like the radiant Nia Long were absorbing every lesson they could from the more experienced actors, soaking up the knowledge and the wisdom like a sponge. But what nobody knew at the time, what they couldn't have possibly foreseen, was that they were also filming during a period of very real and very palpable neighborhood tension. And some of the incidents that happened during the production, the real-life dramas that unfolded just off camera, would later go on to inspire some of the most memorable and dramatic scenes in the sequels. The success that changed lives forever. When Friday finally hit theaters in the spring of 1995, nobody, not even its most ardent supporters, was prepared for what happened next. This little, low-budget comedy that all the major studios had turned their noses up at, this film that was deemed too niche and not commercial enough became a full-blown cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just a movie anymore. It was a language, a shared experience, a part of the cultural fabric. "Bye, Felicia," entered the popular lexicon, becoming a go-to phrase for dismissing anyone and everyone. The characters, from the perpetually annoyed Craig to the fast-talking Smokey, from the menacing Debo to the long-suffering Pops, became archetypes that people recognized in their own neighborhoods, in their own families, in their own lives. The film proved, once and for all, that audiences were hungry, no, starving, for this different and more nuanced perspective on Black life, one that included joy and humor and humanity alongside the very real struggles. Chris Tucker's career exploded overnight. He went from being a relative unknown to one of the most in-demand comedic actors in the world. Ice Cube established himself as not just a rapper or an actor, but as a visionary filmmaker with a unique and powerful voice. The supporting cast, many of whom had been struggling for years, found doors opening for them that had previously been bolted shut. What's the most quotable line from Friday in your opinion? Is it something from Smokey? From Pops? From Debo? We want to know which quotes you still use in your everyday conversations. But with great success comes great pressure. Everyone, from the studio heads to the fans on the street, wanted a sequel immediately. The studios were offering big money, huge life-changing sums. The fans were demanding more Craig and Smokey adventures, more trips to the corner store, more run-ins with Debo. However, what happened next, in the wake of all this success and all this pressure, would create a feud so bitter and so protracted that it would take decades to even begin to resolve. And the real reasons behind it are far more shocking and far more personal than anyone ever imagined. The feud that broke fans' hearts. Here's where the story of Friday takes a truly heartbreaking and deeply disappointing turn. The massive success of the film should have been a cause for celebration, for unity, for easy and enthusiastic sequel planning. Instead, it created a deep and seemingly irreparable rift between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, a rift that would define both of their careers and disappoint millions of fans around the world. The official story, the one that was fed to the media for years, was always about money. Tucker, so the story went, wanted more money for the sequel, a salary commensurate with his newfound stardom. The negotiations broke down. The studio refused to meet his demands, and they were forced to move forward without him. But the real story, the one that has only recently come to light, is much more complicated, much more nuanced, and much, much more personal. You see, in the years between the first movie and the discussions about a sequel, Chris Tucker had become a born-again Christian. His life had changed, his priorities had shifted, and his perspective on the world had been fundamentally altered. He was no longer comfortable with some of the content in Friday, the casual drug use, the often profane language, the very situations that had made the character of Smokey so memorable and so beloved. He wanted the sequel to reflect his new values, his new faith, his new life. Ice Cube, on the other hand, felt that changing the formula, that sanitizing the world of Friday, would be a betrayal of what made the original so special, so authentic, and so resonant with audiences. These weren't just creative differences. They were fundamental and deeply personal disagreements about responsibility, about artistic integrity, and about the nature of personal growth. Do you think that actors should compromise their personal beliefs for the sake of franchise continuity? This is a tough and complicated question, with valid arguments on both sides. Let us know where you stand in the comments below. The situation became even more complicated when Tucker's career took off with the wildly successful Rush Hour franchise. Suddenly, he was commanding astronomical fees, he had his pick of projects, and he was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. The window for a Friday sequel with the original cast? A window that had once been wide open was now getting smaller and smaller with each passing day. But the most tragic part of this feud, the part that still stings after all these years, isn't what it meant for the franchise. It's how it affected the people involved personally, and what we, the audience, lost along the way. It's a story of missed opportunities, of friendships strained to the breaking point, and of a creative partnership that could have produced so much more magic. The tragic losses that haunt the franchise. Success in Hollywood, as we all know, often comes with a dark and tragic side that fans never get to see. For many of the beloved cast members of Friday, the years following the film's phenomenal success were marked by personal tragedies and heartbreaking losses that have cast a long and mournful shadow over the franchise's legacy. The great Tommy "Tiny" Lister, who was so beloved as the intimidating and unforgettable Debo, passed away in 2020. His death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and shocked fans who remembered his gentle and kind nature in real life, a nature that was so different from his terrifying on-screen persona. He had spent years talking about his excitement and his desire to return for a final Friday film, making his loss all the more poignant and all the more heartbreaking. Anthony A.J. Johnson, the brilliant comedic actor who played the hilarious and scene-stealing Ezal, died in 2021, taking with him one of the film's most memorable and unique comedic performances. His family later revealed that he had been struggling financially for years, despite the film's enduring popularity and cultural impact, a harsh and sobering reminder of how the industry so often treats its most valuable contributors. And the immensely talented Regina King, who has gone on to become one of the most respected and acclaimed actresses of her generation, faced her own devastating and unimaginable loss when her son took his own life in 2022. While not directly related to the franchise, it highlighted the very real and often hidden personal struggles that actors and artists face behind their public personas. These tragic losses remind us that our favorite characters, the ones who bring us so much joy and so much laughter, are played by real people with real struggles, real pain, and real vulnerabilities. How do you think we, as a society and as fans, can better support the actors and artists who bring us so much joy? Share your thoughts on this important and often overlooked topic. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of all is how these losses have affected Ice Cube's long-held vision for completing the franchise. Every delay, every setback, every year that passes means losing more of the original family, the original magic that made Friday so incredibly special. And speaking of delays, the long and arduous battle to make one final Friday movie has been more dramatic, more frustrating, and more complicated than anything in the films themselves. The 30-year battle for the final chapter. For nearly 3 decades, a full 30 years, Ice Cube has been trying to make one more Friday movie. Not for the money. He's more than established enough that he doesn't need it. Not for the fame. He's got that in spades, too. He wants to complete the story that he started all those years ago to give the fans the closure they so richly deserve and to honor the memory of the beloved cast members who are no longer with us. But the labyrinthine world of Hollywood politics has made this seemingly simple and straightforward project incredibly and infuriatingly complicated. There have been rights issues, with the ownership of the franchise changing hands multiple times. There have been studio changes, with new executives coming in who don't share Cube's vision or his passion. There have been scheduling conflicts with the A-list actors who have gone on to have massive careers. And there is the ever-present challenge of trying to recapture the magic, the lightning in a bottle, from nearly 30 years ago. Warner Brothers has owned the rights to the franchise for years, but getting a green light for a sequel to a comedy from the 1990s is no easy feat. The industry has changed, comedy styles have evolved, and what worked in 1995 might not necessarily work today. And in today's risk-averse Hollywood, studios are more hesitant than ever to take a chance on a project that isn't a guaranteed billion-dollar grossing superhero blockbuster. Ice Cube has written multiple versions of a script for Last Friday. He's pitched it countless times, bringing that same passion, that same fire that he had when he was trying to get the original made all those years ago. But the cold, hard business side of filmmaking, the side that has nothing to do with art or with creativity, keeps creating roadblocks and obstacles at every turn. The most recent developments, though, have given fans more hope than they've had in years. And what's happening behind the scenes, the deals that are being made, and the conversations that are being had might just surprise you. The breakthrough that changes everything? In 2023, after years of stagnation and frustration, something finally shifted. Warner Brothers, after years of hesitation and indecision, finally gave the green light for Last Friday. Ice Cube triumphantly announced that the script was complete, that the vision was clear, and that production would, at long last, finally move forward. But here's what's so bittersweet about this long-awaited news. It won't be the same cast reunion that fans have been dreaming about for decades. Chris Tucker has confirmed, once and for all, that he won't be returning to the role of Smokey. The same creative and personal differences that kept him away from the sequels, the same fundamental disagreements about the nature of the characters and the world of Friday, remain unchanged. Instead, Ice Cube is crafting a story that both honors the original and acknowledges the undeniable reality of time passing. Craig is older now, the neighborhood has changed, and the new movie will reflect those changes authentically and honestly. It will be a story about aging, about family, and about the enduring power of community. The film is also planned as a loving and respectful tribute to the cast members who have passed away, incorporating their legacy into the story in meaningful and poignant ways. It's not just a comedy anymore, it's a celebration of life, a meditation on loss, and a testament to the bonds that even time can't break. Are you excited about the prospect of Last Friday, even without the return of Chris Tucker? Or do you think that the franchise should have ended with the original perfect film? This is probably the most debated and most contentious topic among fans, so let us know your honest and unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. The cultural legacy that transcends film. Friday became more than just a piece of entertainment. It became a piece of cultural shorthand, a shared language that connected people from all walks of life. Bye, Felicia isn't just a movie quote anymore. It's a universally understood phrase that has entered the everyday language. The film's refreshingly honest and humorous portrayal of neighborhood life influenced countless other movies and TV shows, paving the way for a new generation of storytellers. But the deeper and more profound impact of Friday is in how it changed the game of representation in Hollywood. Friday proved, once and for all, that black stories didn't have to be tragic to be authentic. It showed that humor and humanity could not only coexist with social commentary, but could actually make it more powerful and more resonant. It opened doors for a different kind of storytelling, a kind that is still influencing and inspiring filmmakers to this very day. The movie also became an unexpected and powerful launching pad for careers in ways that nobody could have possibly predicted. It wasn't just the obvious and massive success stories like Chris Tucker and Regina King, but also the crew members, the supporting actors, and even some of the neighborhood residents who appeared in the background scenes found new and exciting opportunities because of their connection to the film. Ice Cube's vision, his vision to show joy alongside struggle, to present complex and multidimensional characters who were more than just stereotypes, to celebrate the powerful and often overlooked bonds of community, succeeded beyond anyone's wildest and most optimistic dreams. And that vision, that powerful and enduring message, continues to influence new generations of filmmakers and audiences proving that sometimes the smallest and most personal stories can have the biggest and most lasting impact. The enduring power of community. Looking back at the entire saga of Friday, from its unlikely and almost miraculous creation to its massive and unexpected cultural impact, to the very real and very personal costs of its success, what emerges is a powerful and moving story about the enduring power of authentic storytelling and the profound importance of community. Ice Cube didn't just make a movie, he created a world that felt real because in so many ways, it was real. The laughter came from genuine lived experiences. The characters were people we all recognized, people we all knew. The neighborhood was a place that felt like home, even if we'd never been there before. The feuds, the tragedies, the long and frustrating struggles to continue the franchise, these are all a part of the story too. They remind us that behind every piece of entertainment we love, behind every character we quote, and every scene we rewatch, are real people with real challenges, real dreams, and real limitations. Friday succeeded because it treated its characters and their community with respect, with love, and with a deep and abiding sense of understanding. It found humor without mockery. It found authenticity without exploitation. And it found hope without ignoring the harsh realities of life. As we potentially approach the final chapter of Craig's story, it's worth remembering what made the original so special, so timeless, and so beloved. It was a love letter to a community, a love letter written by people who understood that community from the inside out. If you enjoyed diving deep into the real, untold story behind Friday, do us a favor and smash that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories from your favorite movies. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a single time we uncover the secrets that Hollywood doesn't want you to know. The legacy of Friday isn't just in its endlessly quotable lines or its unforgettable characters. It's in its powerful and enduring proof that every single community has stories worth telling, and that sometimes the most powerful and most revolutionary message is simply showing people as they really are, flawed, funny, and fundamentally, beautifully human. Thank you for being a part of our community. What kind of videos would you like us to make next? Let us know in the comments below. We'll see you on the next video.